Today I am showing you how to set up an Active Directory server using VMware. First, we will go ahead and install the Windows Server 2016. On this first screen, you just make sure all the languages are correct and then hit Next. And then you'll click on Install Now and let it go ahead and go through the process of installing. So on this screen, we will go ahead and choose Windows Server 2016 standard for the desktop experience to make sure that we have the GUI, so it's just easier to configure everything. And then on this screen, you just click on accept the license terms and then click next. And then on this screen, you'll go ahead and click on install Windows only. Make sure your drive is selected and then hit next. And you'll go ahead and let that install Windows. Once this finishes getting the files ready for the installation, it'll actually move into installing the features and then the updates as well. And then those move a lot quicker than getting the files ready. So now we're going to restart it. That way we can continue the installation process. Alright, so now we have to add a password to the administrator account. That way we can log into the computer and then use the server. And then you'll click finish once you put your password in. Alright, so now we have to send the Control-Alt-Delete in order to log into the computer as the administrator. And in VMware, you're not able to just hit Control-Alt-Delete on your computer, since your keyboard on your, if you're using a laptop, it will just do it for your laptop, so you have to go up in the top left-hand corner, and there's an option. Alright, and then for this pop-up, we're just going to hit no because we don't need it to be discoverable. And then we're going to finish letting this load up, and it'll pull up the server manager for us. Once the server manager finishes loading up fully, then we'll go ahead and add the roles and features. We just have to let it finish fully loading up before it'll let us access that. Alright, now that it finished loading up, we can go ahead and click Add Roles and Features. And then on this first page, you'll go ahead and just click Next. You want to make sure that role-based or feature-based installation is selected, and then hit Next. On the screen, you're going to leave it the way it is with the selecting a server from server pool, and then just making sure your server that you're using is the one that's showing up and highlighted, and then hit Next. And then on this screen, we are going to go ahead and click on the Active Directory Domain Services and select that. And then we're going to go ahead and hit Add Features. Alright, and then next, we're going to click on the next button to go ahead and move on to the features. And then on the screen, you're going to leave everything the way it is and then click on Next. And then this page just gives you some information on the Active Directory Domain Services. So you're going to go ahead and click Next. Alright, and now we're going to go ahead and click on Install to let that go ahead and install. And this may take a couple minutes. Alright, so it's finished installing and it says configuration is required. So now we have to click on promote this server to a domain controller to actually make the machine a domain controller. Alright, and then next we're going to click on add a new forest, and then you're going to go ahead and type in a domain name that you're going to use on this server. For my domain name, I'm going to just type in cmo.com. And then we're going to go ahead and click on next. And on this screen, you're going to leave the forest functional level and domain functional level the way they are. And then you're going to leave domain name system server checked, and then you're going to go ahead and put in a password. And then you will click next. And then on this screen, you're going to go ahead and click next because you just don't have the option to create the DNS delegation. So we're going to go ahead and click next. Alright, now that the screen's loaded, you can see that it went ahead and filled in our domain name for us based on what we inputted for the forest whenever we created that. We're going to go ahead and leave it the way it is, and then we're going to click on next. Alright, and then once the screen loads up for the paths, we're going to go ahead and just leave everything the way it is for the database, log files, and the sysfile folder, and then we're going to click on next. The screen just allows you to look over everything you've inputted and review everything, and once everything looks good, you can go ahead and click on next. Alright, this next screen shows you the prerequisites that were needed to set this up as an Active Directory server, and then you can see that it says all the prereqs were passed successfully, and then we can go ahead and click install to begin the installation. So we're going to go ahead and click on install and let that go through the installation. Alright, and now it's going to go ahead and restart. And it's going to go through the restart process since Active Directory was installed. Now we're going to go ahead and log back into the computer by sending the control-delete and then making sure we log into the administrator account with the CMO domain, which you can see listed right there. Now that this is loaded back up with the server manager, we're going to go into tools, and then you're going to click on Active Directory users and computers. Next, we're going to go ahead and click the drop down by cmo.com. And then we're going to go ahead and click on the domain controllers. And then you can see that this computer is listed as a domain controller. We can also go ahead and go back into Tools and then click on DNS to bring up the DNS manager. And then once again, you can see the computer listed there for DNS as well. Alright, and then we can go ahead and click on the computer and it pulls up all of these folders. If we hit the drop down, it shows them over here as well. And then we can go ahead and click on the drop down for the forward lookup zones and see that there's two integrated primary ones that are already listed since we created our domain. Alright, so since there's already the forward lookup zones, we're going to go ahead and click on the reverse lookup zones, and we see that there are none, so we're going to go ahead and add one and click on New Zone, and then we're going to click on Next. We're going to go ahead and leave it as a primary zone, and then leave the store the zone in Active Directory checked, and then go ahead and click on Next. On this screen, we're going to leave it with the default option of to all DNS servers running on domain controllers in this domain, and then we're going to click on Next. We're going to leave it for the IPv4 reverse lookup zone, and then we're going to click on Next. On this screen, it shows that we have to input the first three sections for the network ID. So I went ahead and opened up to look at my IP address. So I'm going to put these first three sets of numbers in order to make them match up. So over here we're going to put 192.168.198. Now that I've got that inputted, we can go ahead and hit Next. Alright, and then on this screen, we're going to leave it with the default option of allow only secure dynamic updates, and then click on Next. And then we're going to go ahead and click on Finish. Now that we have our new zone, we can go ahead and open that up, and then we're going to right click and click on New Pointer. We're going to leave the defaults that it puts in and then click on OK. Alright, we're going to go ahead and click on Browse. Now that we've got this screen pulled up, we're going to click on the computer and then forward lookup zones. And then it's showing us both of the options that we saw earlier. And with these two options, we're going to go ahead and click on the one that says cmo.com. And then it should pull up this folder and show you everything that's inside of it. Alright, and then we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and then click on the computer and then click OK. And then you can see it listed right there that we've selected that one. Alright, and as you can see, it filled in the rest of the address to show the address of that host IP address of what we selected, and then we're going to go ahead and click on OK. Alright, now that we have everything configured for this Active Directory server, we can go ahead and select the computer, and then we can right click and launch the NS lookup, and we can use this to verify that everything is working the way we need it to. So the first thing we can do to check to see if everything's working is go ahead and type in our domain, cmo.com, and we can verify that it did pull up the IP address and the domain name associated with it. Alright, and then next we went ahead and we can type in the computer name.cmo.com to see that that also pulls up the same IP address that is associated with just cmo.com. So that's another thing that we would need to check. Alright, and then the last thing we can use to check that everything is working properly is to type in the IP address itself to verify that it pulls up the same information, which it pulls up the same information as everything else has so far. So then that also lets us know everything is working as far as Active Directory and DNS that we have set up on this server. You can also use this to troubleshoot any problems that you would have run into if you would have configured something wrong. So like if one of these didn't pop up the same way, you would know that was your area that you would need to put more focus on to figure out what went wrong and try to correct the problem. But since all of ours match up, everything was done properly and it shows that it is all working.